She had no quarrels with staying at the bar until it closed. We had a fun evening playing the usual games, pool, Connect 4 and Jenga with all of the girls, and of course I was buying drinks for all of them. When the bar shut down at midnight, the girl of my choice and her friend wanted to go to an after hours club, and I was more than happy to keep on partying. After the club closed at 2 a.m, we had a bite to eat at one of the street stalls, and the girl I had bar fine told me that her and her friend were going home. Confused, I asked why she was going home since I had bar fined her. She said she changed her mind and that she wanted to go home. I didn't argue with her, and the two of them went on their way. It was a fun night regardless up to that point, and I still wanted to party. A tuk-tuk driver asked me if I needed a ride. I told him I wanted to keep partying, but everything had already closed. He told me to get in and he would take me to a place that was still open. The next day I would kick myself for not doing more research on Thailand's nightlife, Chiang Mai nightlife in particular. We took a short drive down to a place not far from the moat that had 4 lovely girls standing outside and had loud music inside. With excitement, I paid the driver and away he went, leaving me looking at the 4 beautiful women standing on the pavement. A big woman came out of the establishment and met me on the sidewalk to explain how things worked at this bar. I was to pick one or as many of the 4 women as I wanted to share a karaoke room with, which offered a full menu of drinks, food and a karaoke machine. They would charge by the hour for the room and I would pay extra for anything off the menu. I chose the beauty of my liking and away we went into the small room with a flat screen karaoke machine, couch and table. The drinks began to flow, and after a couple of hours I had all 4 of the women plus the bigger girl all partying in my small karaoke room. The alcohol definitely hindered my thoughts, but luckily I had one moment of clarity and decided to ask how much my bill was up to now. The big girl scurried off and after a few minutes brought me back a bill that totaled 40,000 baht. 40,000 baht in today's money at today's exchange, guys, is about £1,000, probably about 1,200 US dollars. At this point, I went from the drunkest guy in Chiang Mai to the soberest. My blood was boiling. They had charged me for being there for 8 hours and an absurd amount of drinks. Being drunk, I can't account for how much alcohol I had bought, but I knew full well that I hadn't ordered the amount that I was being charged for. A long argument ensued, which didn't get me anywhere. They had called the police and I was escorted down to the street by the Thai police to the nearest ATM to withdraw the funds to cover the bill. I figured paying this bill was going to be cheaper than dealing with the Thai legal system. This was a hard lesson learned. Had I done better research, I would have known to avoid the karaoke bars in Chiang Mai. Hopefully my story can help others that may find themselves in a similar situation. Do not enter the karaoke bars in Chiang Mai. Yeah, I mean, this seems to be a familiar pattern, doesn't it? The 2 places where the bill gets padded out, you seem to be having a great time and you get a massive, massive bill. One of them is the upper level bars that do the tacky shows along Pat Pong, you know, the market, Pat Pong one. You've got the market and they have doorways that lead upstairs and they have shows that aren't that great actually, but you know, normally tourists like to go and see them at least once just to check them out. They seem to be rip-offs. And we had a story a few weeks ago, didn't we, with a similar situation, and it was in Chiang Mai, where a guy went into a karaoke bar. He was having a good time and he wasn't checking all his bills, and the same thing happened to him. But that guy, 3 bouncers came in and basically locked him in the room and tipped his pockets out, and you know, they got his card and somehow were able to make a transaction on the ATM machine downstairs. So a good warning there, you know, stay away from them bars above Pat Pong 1 and be very, very careful when you go to karaoke bars. It's not too bad. I've been into karaoke bars with Thai people, so it's not too bad then. But if you go in, especially alone, and you don't know the scene, you're likely to be ripped off. So take heed there, guys. Okay, let's go into story number 6. And I haven't got a lot to say about this at the moment. I'll just read it. So it goes, this is an extremely sad story about a man I met when I first started visiting Thailand and his tale of woe. It was 2007 and I came to Thailand with a group of fellow Aussies to watch the Asian Cup of football. I met a young lady who later became my ex-girlfriend. That's a story for another time. One day, me and my girlfriend had a coffee at a nice coffee shop in our local mall, and it was here I met Professor John. John was an English professor at a major Thai university. John had lived in Thailand for many years and warned me many times to be wary of the bar girls. Little did I know that a normal Thai lady was to be his downfall. One day I called John to meet for a coffee, and this stunning girl turned up at the coffee shop looking for him. He introduced me to her. This is Lek, and he told me that she was one of his star students. She had come along to practice her English conversation. About a year later, John had asked me if I remember his student Lek. I said, how could I forget? She was stunning. John told me he was going away to Hong Kong with her. I told him that I didn't even know that they were an item, and he said that they weren't. However, Lek needed to go to Hong Kong and needed him to go with her. Later on, John told me that they were to pretend that they were married, and for his trouble, she would pay for his flight and accommodation. All he needed was to bring his own spending money. I told him that this sounded a bit weird. He said that he had an idea why she wanted to go to Hong Kong and why they were to pretend that they were married. I told him I hoped he knew what he was doing, but there is no such thing as a free holiday. For the next 4 weeks, they rehearsed all private information that only their partner would know, such as birth dates, likes, dislikes, where they met, and so on. When they got married, etc. So the big day arrived. They were leaving at 6 p.m. John and I met for a coffee, as we had done every Friday for the 3 years previously that I knew him. I asked him one last time if he knew what he was doing, and was he sure that he was 100% sure that all would be okay. He was only going away for 3 days, so I said that I'll see him next week for coffee. When he returned, I asked John how it all went. He said that they got questioned at both Bangkok and Hong Kong airports, but just the usual stuff: where they married, how long, why they were in Hong Kong, etc. I then again questioned John, and he came clean. He told me that Lek had told him that her family had a huge debt because her brother had had an accident. He was drunk and had killed someone with his car in their hometown, and that they needed the money. One of Lek's friends told her that she could earn big money if she went to Hong Kong selling her wares. I asked John, I didn't know she was that type of girl. He responded she wasn't, and that this was the first time she had done this, and that her family really needed the money. I guess you do what you got to do. For the next 3 months, John and I met every Friday for coffee, as we had done for years. I arrived one Friday, but John failed to appear. I just thought that he'd got caught up, or he was busy and forgot to call or message me that he was a no-show. I tried calling him, but his phone was switched off. Strange, as John was a very punctual and would always let me know, even if he was a minute late. On the following Tuesday, I received a strange call from the Australian embassy asking me to go there to meet up with an Australian embassy official. My first thoughts were that John had been in an accident or was in hospital, even possibly dead. When I got to the embassy, the official had told me that John had been arrested by Thai police under instructions issued by Interpol. I was shocked. What had he been charged with? You could imagine my face when the response was human trafficking. My jaw had hit the ground. Human trafficking? When? Who? I was confused. Anyway, John had given me as a contact, and the embassy official asked me many questions about John. It then dawned on me that even though we had coffee every Friday for years, I really didn't know much about him. I didn't know any contacts for him in Australia, brother, sister, parents, and I didn't even know his actual address in Thailand. The embassy official asked me if I would like to attend Klong Prem prison with her and see him. I vowed when I moved to Thailand to never end up in a Thai prison, but I decided to go as John needed me. Klong Prem is not a very nice, rather eerie, and there was a musty odour about the place. And to say that I was scared and nervous was an understatement. Anyway, we were ushered into a room, and then after 15 minutes, John came in. He appeared scared and confused and had shackles around his ankle. What happened? I asked, and he said that according to Interpol, Lek had been arrested working in an illegal brothel, and when questioned, she had told the Hong Kong police that John told her that they were going on holiday to Hong Kong, and once there, sold her to the Triads. John then told us that once they got through Hong Kong customs, there was a Chinese man waiting for Lek, and that was the last that he had ever seen or heard from her. Over the next 18 months, John had numerous court dates and in Thai, and both of us never knew what the heck was going on. John's lawyer stated that if we had money in the millions of baht, that John could get a lesser sentence or even have the case drop, but John said that both his parents were dead and that his sister in Sydney didn't have that kind of money. In the meantime, John had asked me to try and find Lex, saying that this is a misunderstanding and that she would clear it all up. I did go to the university to look for her, but had been told that she dropped out and none of her friends had seen her after that. After that Australian man had trafficked her to the Triads. What were they on about? How did they know this? I was to later discover that Lex's younger sister attended the same university and had told everyone this story. Finally, the date of the sentencing had arrived for John. Life in jail was a verdict. John's lawyer blamed me and John for this sentencing, saying that if we had paid the money as requested, the three judges would have given John only 8 to 10 years, and with royal pardons he would have been out in probably 5 years. John and I were in shock. Life in jail, so much for a free holiday. Things took a twist later that day when a young girl in the courtroom came up to me asking if I was John's friend. I said yes, and she introduced herself as Lex's younger sister. In her broken English, she asked me to pass on Lex's apologies to John, but the Triads had warned Lex that if she gave them up, they would knock her and her parents off and Lex's two younger sisters. Basically, John had been set up from the start. I had debated whether I should tell him, but I thought he needed to know, as every time I visit him, he would ask me if I had found Lex. When I told him, I could see when I told him this, I could see the life literally drain from his body. I visited him monthly for the next 9 months, and he was looking worse and worse each time. I could see that he was taking drugs, and when I asked him, he finally confessed. He told me it took away the boredom and that he had given up on leaving the jail alive.